2 days ago, Putin warned the West that he would strategically position weapons in countries bringing the West within its striking range. It did not take the Russian leader too long to act. It is the 7th of June 2024 and the world is staring at what could possibly be another Cuban crisis. You heard that right. Russian warships are all set to dock in Havana. Have a look at what Cuba has told the world. It says a group of Russian ships will be visiting Havana next week. These are not your luxury cruise ships, by the way. These are Russian naval ships. Frigate Gorshkov, the fleet oil tanker Pashin, and the rescue tug Nikolai Chika. There's also a nuclear-powered submarine Kazan. As per the Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces, these Russian ships will visit the port of Havana between the 12th of June and the 17th of June. The question is, what will these warships do in Cuba? Will they send a message to the US and the NATO? Russia and Cuba, remember, are Cold War allies. Cuba hosted Soviet nuclear missiles in 1962. The John F. Kennedy-led US administration decided to impose a naval blockade around Cuba. The Cuban Missile Crisis nearly tipped the world into a nuclear war. 62 years on, Russian nuclear-powered submarine has made a port call in Havana. The Admiral Gorshkov is no ordinary warship. It is the lead vessel of Russia's latest class of frigates. The warship was commissioned in 2018. It can be armed with Zircon, Caliber, and Onyx cruise missiles. Look at the range of these missiles. The 3M22 Zircon Russian medium-range cruise missile has a range of 1,000 kilometers. Let's just pull out a map for you. This is Havana, where the Russian fleet will be docking. And this is Miami, the closest American city. The air distance between Havana and Miami is barely 366 kilometers. Zircon, like we told you, can travel up to 1,000 kilometers, meaning it can strike as far as South Carolina. Let's look at another missile that can be launched from the Russian warship docking in Havana, the Caliber missile. It has a much larger range. It can hit targets that are as far as 2,500 kilometers, meaning it is capable of striking New York, Washington, D.C., Dallas, St. Louis, even Chicago. You realize why this is a huge story? This is essentially Putin telling the West that his threats are not empty. The warship that will be docking in Havana is also capable of firing Otwet anti-submarine missile. The submarine Kazan will also be docking in Havana. It's a Yasen M submarine. It was launched in 2017. It is powered by the 4th generation KTP-6 nuclear reactors. Reports say Kazan is the quietest Russian underwater submarine. Kazan entered service with the Northern Fleet in 2021. It also can carry Onyx and Caliber cruise missiles. As per the TASS report published in 2021, Kazan can be configured to carry Zircon hypersonic missiles. And reports say this is the first time that a Russian Yasen M class submarine will be docking on a foreign port. The question is what explains the timing? We began the broadcast by reminding you that earlier this week, Putin said that he could be arming Western adversaries. Let me just read out for you the exact quote. If they consider it possible to deliver such weapons to the combat zone to launch strikes on our territory and create problems for us, why don't we have the right to supply weapons of the same type to some regions of the world where they can be used to launch strikes on sensitive facilities of the countries that do it to Russia? We will think about it, quote unquote. What you have now is Putin backing that threat with real action. Cuba claims none of the ships are carrying nuclear weapons. Even if that's true, Cuba is the last place the US would want Russian weapons to reach. Things have been tense between the US and Cuba since Fidel Castro overthrew a US-backed government. The year was 1959. Russia and Cuba, on the other hand, have only come closer in the recent years. Just last month, the Cuban president was in the Kremlin. He met Putin and attended the annual May 9 parade on Red Square. When the Russian fleet arrives at the port of Havana, one of the ships will fire 21 salvos. This will be Russia's salute to Cuba. And in return, Cuba's Revolutionary Armed Forces will fire artillery battery. The sound of this exchange will send the US down uncomfortable pages of history. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.